Hello guys, welcome back again to the channel. I hope you all had a nice Christmas and you could spend some time with your loved ones. In this video we are going to install Manjaro with LVM. This is something which has been requested a lot on the channel and we are going to do it in this video with the Manjaro Architect. So let's dive into the video. So here we are on the live ISO for Manjaro Nivea 20.2. This is the GNOME ISO, but what I'm going to show you here is going to work, of course, on any other ISO of Manjaro. So what I'm going to do in this video, I'm going to show you how to install Manjaro with LVM using Manjaro Architect. So let me close this window up. And you can begin by opening up the Manjaro Architect icon here and entering the password for the ISO, which is Manjaro. And it's going to update the installer first. And once it's done, let me go full screen here. And you can select first the language. So I'm going ahead and select English here. And there is a welcome to Manjaro Architect. This is version 0933. Now we have some infos here, but we can skip this. We can just hit OK. And let's follow the steps we need here. So let's prepare the installation by selecting the first option. And we can set the virtual console. So let's hit OK here. Now I have US, in my case it's not, so I'm going to have to go to change and select my keyboard layout, which is somewhere down here. There you go, and hit OK. And we're going to go automatically to the second option, which is list devices. So let's hit OK here. This is an optional step, but you can see the disks I have in my machine. So I have VDA and VDB, and I'm going to actually create the LVM using these two disks. So I'm going to do this in a second anyway. So let's hit back here. And let's partition our disks. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's begin with VDA. So let's hit enter here. And I want to partition the disk manually. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to gdisk and create the partitions I need. So this is a UEFI system and it needs to have a EFI partition. So I'm going to type in N for new and hit enter. Partition number 1 is fine. First sector is also fine. The last sector is the size of the disk. So I'm going to create the partition for 300 megabytes and hit enter. Now the code for this is EF00 because it's a EFI system partition, and there you go. Now I'm going to create a swap partition as well, so I'm going to type in N for new. Partition number 2 is fine, first sector is fine. This machine has 8 gigabytes of RAM, so I'm going to create 4 gigabytes of swap, and the code for this is 8200. And now we can create our third partition, which is going to be our root partition, so N for new. Partition number 3 is fine, first sector is fine, last sector is fine. And the code, I want to give here 8E00 because this is going to be our LVM. And then we can hit W and confirm the changes by hitting Y and hit enter. There you go. Now let me partition also VDB. So let's go back here to partition disk and select VDB. Again, I'm going to select gdisk and N for new. I'm going to accept all the defaults here, except for the code, because I want the code to be 8E00, again for LVM. And then we can type W and hit enter, and type Y and hit enter to confirm the changes. There you go. Now we can skip RAID. I don't want to create this here, but I want to create the logical volume management. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have several commands here. We have create VG and LVs, delete all, etc. So what I want to do, I want to create first the volume group. So I'm going to use the first command here. So I can just hit enter. Now enter the name of the volume group to create. So let's do this. I want to create my volume group and the name is going to be VG SSD and hit enter. Now I can tell the system, okay, which of these partitions are going to be using this volume group? Well, I'm going to use VDA3 because it's the root partition, and I want to use also VDB1 to extend that pool. And then I can hit OK. So you can confirm basically the volume group is going to be using VDA3 and VDB1. Now, this process, for example, I tried it also in Calamares, but Calamares has some issues with this. So Manjaro Architect is your best bet here. And let's hit yes. And it's creating the volume group now, and it has been created. And you can see it's 65 gigabytes. And then we can hit OK. Now, enter the number of logical volumes to create in here. So, for example, you can create 1 or 2 or 3, depending also if you want to have a logical home partition. In my case, I'm just going to create 1. So I'm just going to type in 1 here. And I can give the name to this logical volume. I'm going to call mine LVSSD and hit OK. Done. All logical volumes have been created for the volume group. Do you wish to view the new LVM scheme? I'm going to say yes. And you can see how it looks like. So we have our volume group there and the logical volume on VDA3 and VDB1. Now we can hit back here. And it's going to take a second to go back to the screen. There you go. Now for the LVM here, we are fine. So there is nothing else we need to do. So let's go to the back option here and hit OK. Now I will skip encryption here and also ZFS. And we go to mount partitions. Now mount partitions, let's hit OK here. And it's going to detect again the logical volumes. So select the root partition. Now the root partition is our logical volume, which is the first one on the list. So let's hit OK here. And I'm going to format it with the ext4 file system. So I'm just going to select this and hit OK. And hit yes to confirm. And we have already some options here for the file system. I'm going to leave these as they are. So I'm just going to hit OK. Confirm the options, so by hitting OK, and the mount is successful. Now select the swap partition. Now the swap partition, you remember, was VDA2. Now we could have created also a swap file, but since I created the partition, I'm going to select this and hit OK. Make swap to VDA2, and this is done. Now, I don't have actually any other partition except the EFI partition, which is going to come in a later step. So this is a little bit confusing in the architect because you will be tempted to actually select VDA1, but that's not the step we need to do here. So let's just hit OK. And now it's asking us to select the UEFI partition, which is VDA1. So let's do that. Now the mount point is boot EFI, which is fine. And the mount is successful. Now we can configure our mirror list. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, I don't need to edit the Pacman configuration file. I know that's going to be fine. The Pacman mirror configuration is also going to be fine for me. And what we can do, we can rank the mirrors by speed. So we can actually go to the third option and hit OK. Now I want to use the stable one, so I just hit OK here to accept the default. And then it tells us that at the end of the process, we can select the custom mirrors using the spacebar or enter and confirm with the OK button at the bottom. So let's do that. So this is going to take some time because it's going to basically probe all the servers and tell you then at the end which are the fastest ones. So depending on the internet connection, this might take a couple of minutes. So I'll be back with you guys when it's done. So here we go. We can select now the mirrors that we want to have. I want to actually select the ones in my country. So I'm just going to select these two. And I'm going to scroll down here and select also these two. So that's going to be fine for me. So I can hit OK. And yes, I want to use these mirrors. There you go. And now we can hit back. Now we can refresh the Pacman keys. I definitely recommend you to do this once. So let's hit OK here. And again, this is going to take some time because it basically needs to refresh the keys. So I'll be back with you guys in a second. So there you go. Now we can go to the 11 steps. So choose Pacman cache and I will hit OK here. And I will hit yes to select the cache. And now we have also the choice to enable the file system check hook, which I will do in my case. And then we can go back and that's it for preparing the installation. So now we can install the desktop system. Now install Manjaro desktop. So let's go ahead and do that. And you have, of course, the choice here to install Yay and the base development plus the Linux kernel you want to install. I'm going to go ahead here and select the first option and the latest Linux kernel and hit OK. And then we can select the desktop environment or the window manager. Let's see, in my case though, I'm gonna go with GNOME. I'm gonna make it very standard here and hit OK. And right now it's asking us if we want to add other packages. For now, I'm gonna say no because I can install them anywhere later. And we have two editions here, the full edition or the minimal. I'm gonna go for the minimal so that it's gonna be a little bit faster. And there you go. Now it's going to basically download all the packages we need and I'll be back with you guys when it's done. So there you go, guys. The system is now installed and it's asking us to install the display driver. Now, you have several choices here. You can auto install the free drivers. You can auto install the proprietary drivers. You might want to do that if you have an NVIDIA card, or you can select the display driver you want. In my case, I'm just going to go with auto install. So I'm just going to hit OK here. And it's going to take a second. There you go. And now we can press enter to continue. And so the install Manjaro desktop is done. Now we can install the bootloader. So let's hit OK. And I'm going to use grub in this video. And install UEFI bootloader grub, yes. And it's going to take a second here to download and install it. Now, as you can see during the installation, there is some strange output there due to the LVM. I don't know exactly what's going on. I've seen this also on Arch Linux. It's probably a package update thing because on Arch it now disappeared actually, so it might come to Manjaro as well. Now we need to set the bootloader as default, so let's hit yes. And the grub has been set. Now we can configure the base. Let's go ahead and do that. So we need to generate the fs stub file, so let's hit OK. And I'm going to use the UUID, so the first option. Now set the host name. I'm going to call this, I'm going to leave it Manjaro, that's fine for me. The system locale, so I'm looking for English US, which is already selected. And now we can select the keyboard layout, which is actually, in my case, the CH. This is the Swiss keyboard. The time zone, then the clock. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm actually in Europe. And the city that I need to select is Zurich. And hit OK. Now, UTC is Universal Time Standard and is recommended unless you are booting with Windows. So I'm going to go for UTC. And now we can set the root password. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's enter the password and retype it. And now we can add a new user. I'm going to do that as well. So enter the username. Letter must be lowercase. So I'm just going to enter my name here. And by default now the Z shell is selected. I'm going to leave this as a default. And we can enter now the password and retype it and hit OK. So it's going to create the user now, and this is done. We can go back. Now we have some system tweaks here that we can do. Enable automatic logging, hibernation, performance, and system tweaks. Let's go to performance here. Let's see what it can do. Well, there are some options here to change the IO schedulers and the swap configuration, but I'm going to let them as they are. And let's go to security and systemd tweaks. Let's see what's available there. We don't need to do any of those, so we can hit cancel and we can hit back. So we configured the base, we did the system tweaks. I don't need to review the configuration file and I don't need to root in, so I can go back here. And we installed the desktop system, so we can skip CLI and custom system. I don't need system rescue, so I can just hit done and close the installer. And I don't want to copy the log, so I'm just going to go to no. And the installation is done. So what we can do basically now, we can restart the machine. So let's go ahead and do that and hit restart. It's going to take a second to do that. Now there you go, the machine is starting up. And you can see we have there our short message for the LVM, and here is Manjaro. So let's go ahead and log in. And we're going to have here probably the tour, which is new in Manjaro. Well, first we have the welcome screen, so let's go ahead and do that. The keyboard is fine. Location services are fine. I will skip online accounts and start using Manjaro. So this is the tour. I'm going to skip this and adjust my screen resolution to 1080p and 60 Hertz and click keep changes. There you go. So here we are. This is Manjaro. So let me close this Windows and let's open up here our terminal. And let me go full screen here and increase the font size and type in lsblk. And you can see we have our LVM there. So on VDA3 and VDB1 for a total of around 66 gigabytes. So this is how you can install Manjaro with LVM using Manjaro Architect. It takes a little bit time, but the Manjaro Architect makes this process very easy. So if you try this out, let me know in the comments below how it's working for you. And if you have any questions about the video, let me also know in the comments below. I will try to answer you as usual as soon as I can. So this is how you can install LVM on Manjaro using Manjaro Architect. Manjaro Architect makes everything really simple. It takes a little bit time because you'll have to go through the whole text interface, and the installation takes a little bit time, especially for creating the locales.
But having said that, Manjaro Architect is a great tool and it offers several options on installing Manjaro. So if you try this out, let me know in the comments below how it's working for you, or if you have another way to install LVM on Manjaro, post it in the comments below and share it with the community. I hope you liked this video, guys. If you did, please hit the thumbs up and sub to the channel if you haven't already. Subs always helps us out. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so by visiting our Patreon website, or you can donate via PayPal to our website as well. We are very close to the new year, so I wish all of you a happy new year, guys, a happy 2021, hopefully with a little bit less pandemic. And stay safe, and I'll see you very soon in the new year.